Hey folks, this is Lucid. Welcome to another Lemuria Let's Play. And yeah, it's turn one. So this map, let's go through who we've got in it. We have got an Arco. So first let me say, Lemuria a lot of times gets banned. And what is kind of shitty, so a lot of games don't ban any nations, right? And then people all, they sign up, and then like one of the last few people will be like, oh, there are many Lemuria counters in here, let me pick Lemuria. And it kind of, it's kind of like peeing in the pool, people don't like it, and if it wasn't explicitly banned, sometimes there'll be some discussion, hey, should we allow Lemuria? And then people will be like, I don't care. And then, they'll get in, and a lot of times they'll lose, sometimes they'll win, what have you. This game, because I host it, I usually pick my nation first. Yeah, so we had a fair number of people join, but they all picked counters, or people that would have good answers to Lemuria, because I picked first. And they all joined the game knowing that I was going to be in full-on AIDS mode, right, playing Lemuria. So everybody basically picked, hey, who would be good against Lemuria that I want to play in late age? And let's all probably gang up and kill Lucid. So, I will not be very salty if I get gangbanged and just crushed. In some ways, I have it coming, because that's kind of what Lemuria has coming. But the thing is, as much as players say they want to, as much as they will try to, as much as they have good counters, if I make it expensive enough, and Lemuria is basically, just a desolate wasteland of hardship and sorrow, I potentially may be able to survive. And if I survive long enough, I may win. So that is my plan. I am looking forward to this. I think I told everybody in the game I wasn't going to record it, but surprise, I probably will. I kind of decided I would record it as soon as I started the series, because I just realized how excited I was to play Lemuria. I really like the nation. Anyway. So, like I was saying, the nations we have Arco. Why are they good against Lemuria? Well, a few things. One is they have mystics, who are just pretty... Any astral mage is going to be pretty good. Yeah. So basically, it's just having astral mages, I think, that makes them pretty good. They also have death mages. A little bit of death magic goes a long way to being able to counter consoles, and any nation with astral and death is going to be pretty okay against Lemuria. Unfortunately, they don't have astral death communions, but dust to dust, like a few of these guys on advancing cast spells, dust to dust is going to make work of any very resilient thugs I have, or things like that. So anyway, that's what they've got going for them. Let's pull up the next one. We've got Pythium. Pythium is a nation which gets a lot of shit, but they got buffed up recently. There's a few buffs they got. One of the buffs is they got poison resistance built into their bless. They also got a spell that will turn these idiots... Was it these? No. I don't think it's that one. Okay, I really don't play this nation, so I don't really know. Did I just pass over you? Okay, just trust me, there's a fire mage somewhere. It's not you. I guess it is this guy. Yeah, the Heliodromus. One of these guys, you can potentially, with the ritual, you can get them up to fire 4. So they can kind of be a little fire superpower. The Hydras are cool and pretty good. They're obviously super expensive, but they are very difficult to counter. And they get these guys basically as free spawn. So they can do some... If you don't have poison resistance, you can basically be fucked if you're fighting Pythium. Because they can basically plow these, like 4 or 5 of these guys basically for free. They can just plow them into, to your army. And sure, they'll die, but with Poison Cloud, they're going to do some damage. And then they're sacred, so they're going to kind of... if you have a decent bless for Hydras, these guys will get it too. They can do a fair amount of murdering. So, like this guy leading them, 70 gold, very low commitment, doing Swarm with a bunch of Hydras, like 2 Nature Gems, 2 Swarms, he can put a big dent in an army as these guys kind of die off. Now, if they have poison resistance, it's not that big of a deal. But anyway, they can kind of do cool stuff. Are they a particular counter to Lemuria? I would say not really, but they have Theurgs, which they can get everywhere, which is Astral Holy. So they can do Banishment Communions, which, let's just be real, Banishment Communions suck. And then later versus Consuls and stuff, and Grand Thaumaturgs, they can do Soul Slay Communions, and that also sucks. So, you know, what are we going to do? But they don't really have a ton of Sacred Troops, so we're not really scared of their Hydras. Next up, we have Marignon, who obviously have tons of anti-undead stuff. And, yeah, and then in addition, they have Holy 3 Priests they can get. Who am I thinking of here? So they can do Fire Sabbath Communions there, and do they not have... I kind of thought they had more Astral. I really don't play this nation at all. Yeah, okay. So yeah, I guess I really had no idea what units these guys have. But they do have the national spells, I think, that give them the anti-undead stuff, which is pretty good. And then Fire's generally pretty good against Lemuria. Just Fire Elementals. We'll shit on almost everything Lemuria has. So there's that. Next up we have Agartha. Agartha, on one hand, is very good against Lemuria. On the other hand, it's very bad. The good thing about it is it can be really hard for like blind fighters to get killed by ghosts. They probably are basically invulnerable. They have pretty good magic resistance. They have excellent protection. So like honestly, just like a magic weapon bless on these guys, and they're basically gonna just slaughter their weight in ghosts. And then they have priests, like decent, pretty cheap Holy 2 priests who are obviously good at other stuff, but if nothing else, just Holy 2. Then the alchemists are pretty good. You know, they can do different elementals, which will fuck with Lemuria. And then the reanimators are pretty good. They can do Horde of Skeletons, which is not really that great against Lemuria, but they can do Dust to Dust. And it's going to be a little tricky for these guys to do Wither Bones, but yeah. Anyway, that's basically what we're dealing with. What else we have? We've got Calum, which is in some ways very good against Lemuria, because they're going to be like, oh, I've got magic weapons on all my troops, and they fly, so I can pop forts quickly, so I'm going to fuck you over. Yeah. Okay. They're pretty good. And then the air elementals aren't great against ethereal units, so the air elemental spam is not quite as good. They also have a bit of death magic. And don't consider this like I'm just showing you what we've got in the game, guys. This is not a definitive summary of who's good versus Lemuria and who's not. These guys also, they're going to probably be able to drop Withering Bones. The Death Randoms will. Or these guys with Skull Staff, too. I forget what Wither Bones is. Is it... Yeah, it's Death 3. So all of them with a Skull Staff can do it. And Wither Bones makes Lemuria very, very sad. Very, very sad. Okay, so that was Calum. Next up we have Satis. And Satis, late age Satis, they've got the free spawn serpents. They can do Banefire Vortex, which pretty good against undead too, I think. I think it's armor getting damage. I think it does affect undead. But yeah. The Banefire Satis. Next up we have Midgard. And then these vans can be very annoying to try to kill as Satis. If you watched my first Lemuria Let's Play, you will know that these vans gave me untold trouble as they murdered all my dudes. Because apparently vans with a decent bless, it takes basically an unlimited number of ghosts to kill them, is what I found anyway. Certainly what it felt like. And then Astral Mages, obviously you're going to wreck my shit. And then these guys, Thunder Magic is also pretty good. So basically, you know, the troops aren't great against Lemuria necessarily. But the thugs, I mean, there's a lot of ways for these guys to murder Lemuria. Next up we have Bogarus. A pretty good game to play Bogarus in, because everybody's going to be trying to kill Lemuria. And that gives them a little bit of time to get out of their rather slow early game. And then once they get through the kind of early game and they make it into the mid game, they're in pretty good shape. As their nation really comes online, as they can shift away from a lot of their national troops, and the fact that they have awesome national mages, that starts making more of a difference. You know, a particular note is the Eparch, who is a 2 recruitment point Holy 3 dude. So potentially I could have 12 of these guys at the end of the first year behind an army of all of their units marching at me with a shit ton of banishment and smiting. That does not make me very happy. But aside from that, they also have Calendologists, which any Astral 2 is going to fuck up Lemuria's day, and then if that's not enough, they can zap me with lightning bolts. So there are many ways to get fucked by these guys. What I do not have to worry about, fortunately, is I don't really have to worry about their sacreds or anybody with magic weapons. So that is one nice thing about these guys, is they're basically going to be relying on chaff plus eparchs. And I believe we can deal with that. Even the Maldrazira, yeah, I think we're okay against them. Next up, we've got Gath. Gath is going to be, in this case, being played by Sakane, who's been in almost all my games. And in almost all my games, he is one of the major powers towards the end of the game. What do we have next? Okay, so Gath, we've got... they're basically big giants, which are probably mostly immune to Lemuria, to ghosts. What else do they have? They've got these guys who... well, no. Cohen are the bigger, scarier guys. These guys who are going to come in a few different flavors. All of these flavors probably pretty okay at murdering ghosts. They also have healers and these nature dudes, which is cool. They've got the Cohen, which come in an astral variety, but all these guys can Sabbath Communion. And then they've got the Yadoni, which anytime you've got a Death Mage means they're going to be able to take out my thugs. And so, yeah. And then they've got basically cheap Astral Mages, which anytime you have cheap Astral Mages, it means kind of go get wrecked, Lemuria. So that is what we're dealing with over here. Next up, we have Phlegra. Now, Phlegra, what do they have? Well, they have Phlegran Priests, which are the best priest unit in the game, because they're good to mass anyway, because they're very cheap in terms of upkeep, and they've got Reduce Unrest, which is pretty nice. So they've got that, which is awesome. They've got these guys, the Cyclops Smiths, who, you know, are okay. They're going to be decent early game thugs or super combatants against Lemuria. So that will be a bit annoying. They also have these guys, the Cyclops Soldiers, who have magic weapons, and 19 protection, but only 9 MR. But they're going to be mostly immune to ghosts. It's going to take a lot of ghosts to take out one of these guys. And meanwhile, yeah, these guys are going to be killing one ghost a turn until you finally bring them down, which is probably going to be a good long while. They also have Iron Guard. These, I think, can only be gotten in your capital, and they're they're high morale magic beings, and they're slaves, so they have half upkeep. So anyway, they're pretty solid too, but they don't have... I thought for a second they had magic weapons, but they don't. The only magic weapons are on these Cyclops Soldiers. They're going to be a little hard to mass, so if I kill a bunch of Cyclops Soldiers, they're kind of fucked, but yeah. Anyway, next up we have Dimibitch, the god of Atlantis. And Atlantis, in some ways, is the bane of Lemuria. First of all, Lemuria is almost always going to take cold scales. These little fuckers, if they get in your cold scales, they're going to be... they have ice protection 2, so it's going to be 6 protection on top of this. So that's going to be about 23, 24 protection. And the question you may have to ask yourself is about how many ghosts is it going to take to get through 23 protection, and the answer is a fuck ton of ghosts. It's a lot of ghosts it takes to get through that kind of protection. And meanwhile, these guys have magic weapons, so they will be, you know, happily cleaving one ghost away every turn. So, yeah, not great. Not great at all. This would be, if I start next to Atlantis, that would be the worst starting spot possible. I mean, all of these are going to be kind of rough. So, I think this is going to be a more interesting playthrough of Lemuria. I mean, when I first did my other Lemuria Let's Play, that was when my channel was just starting, so nobody knew who I was, really. I mean, I didn't have any kind of reputation. And now, you know, the people who join my games, you know, I'm at least capable of winning. And there is, I think everybody gets a little bit of joy out of fucking me over when they are successful at it. So, yeah, if Lemuria can win a game where there's a bunch of, and a lot of these are pretty good players. Gath is not the only really good player here. I'm not quite sure if I remember who everybody is, but I just remember that, like, looking at everybody who had signed up and being like, oh, this is going to be a hard game. And it will be. But if Lemuria can, I think our odds of winning are very low. But if we can at least hang out and have a good go at it, I think this will be a success. That'll be a success in my book, because everybody has a plan for how to deal with me. Every single one of these players. And Lemuria is, they get hard countered by certain things. So that's just going to be the situation we've got to deal with. Anyway, there's going to be another change, guys. The other thing that's going to be different than my previous series, if you recall in my other series, if you want to go back and watch it, we were playing on Pelor, which is a wonderful map. That's kind of weird. I just saw, like, screen tearing. We were playing on Pelor, which is it's a beautiful map, but it's got an island start, and the island start is kind of shitty. Not as shitty for Lemuria, because Lemuria has aquatic units, but what ends up happening, because also Pelor is not fixed starts, is if there's an underwater nation, which in my case there was a relay there, and then there were land nations that had pinned me on land, it really limited my expansion in terms of how big I could get. And then I also fucked up a few bumps and stuff early. And so anyway, all that combined, I did not expand very well. Now, Lemuria can expand phenomenally well. It is not uncommon, if I were to do a single player test game, we would probably get 34. If I took every province that was near me, and because especially if you do it on an AIDS map, you're going to know, like, somebody's capital's here, somebody's capital's here, somebody's capital is right here, and somebody's capital is right here. So I could do that and say, like, I'm not going to really go inside their cap circles, and then I'll just try to kind of pick up whatever I think I could. If I do that, I'm going to get 30 provinces year one. If I'm like, I don't even give a shit, I'm going to go just wherever I can fastest expansion, and I don't care about cap circles, I would get probably like 30, 35 or something year one. I mean, it's nuts. And that did not come out in my game, which in some ways is good, because then people don't really treat you as a threat. You're like a small little Lemuria. But fuck being a small Lemuria, all right? I can't even believe I won that game. I was so crippled and so small for so long. I didn't build a lot of labs either. Oh, fuck no. All right, we're going to be a big, strong, scary Lemuria. Anyway, we'll get on with it, but you'll see this game that we're going to expand like gangbusters. First step to this is we get a Centurion, because my next party going out is going to be this guy plus somebody else. You can blind expand with this guy, but there's a chance if you blind expand that these guys will die. And I'm not a huge fan of single Centurion expansion. The problem with single Centurion expansion is there's a very good chance your Centurion die. You want your Centurion at the front, because he has fear, and your ghosts don't kill things quickly. It's much better if they run away. If you have this guy at the front, they're tough, but with only one, there's a decent chance they die. And you're only going to have one fear aura proccing, so it's going to be less likely the enemy routes. So when you have one Centurion, you're going to have longer battles, and the longer battles are going to give you more chances for your Centurion to get hit. And you can often get two of these guys in a tile, which is going to make it very unlikely that one of them dies if you have two. So it's going to be, your Centurions are more likely to die The battles are going to be longer, giving them... Or your Centurions are going to be more likely to die every turn if you only have one. The battle is going to be longer, which means you're going to have more opportunities for your Centurions to die. And if there is an indie priest in the army, it's going to mean more turns of banishment. And that's important. And then finally, if you do lose that one Centurion, then all your guys are going to run away, and that's a failed expansion. And that is all... I mean, all those things are things we don't want, and they can all be fixed by just getting 2 Centurions. Now, what is it going to cost you? It's going to slow down your expansion a little bit. If the entire goal of your expansion was just grab as many freaking provinces as you could, it might be a little better to get 1 Centurion per expansion party and just roll the fucking dice and see how you do. And you'll probably do a little bit better. The thing is, 30 is plenty, and if you get more than 30, I mean, you're not going to hold on to it for many turns, because everybody's going to attack you. So anyway, that's turn 1. Now, my first few turns, we're going to go through these kind of quick. I don't actually have... I don't really have all the files. So anyway, we'll have to fix that as we go. So, and... I mean, I have all my turn files, but I don't have all my... like my 2H files, which are it doesn't have my moves in it for like the first 5 turns, so you'll just have to survive. Now what I'm going to do here is, we got a fair amount of ghosts free spawn round 1, which is nice. I'm probably going to take about this many. We're going to take both of these idiots, and I can't remember where I ran them. One of the things that was weird is we got this weird start where we have a bunch of deadlands next to me, which never happened really in any of my test games, and I don't know how well these guys do against the dead. The things I'm unsure about is I don't know how big of a deal the poison attacks from the zombies are. I don't think that's important. But also these guys aren't going to rout. And a lot of our strategy is reliant on, basically on these guys running, on human troops running. So 80 is a lot, 40 is obviously much less. We're going to feel pretty confident taking this later. But this is just something I don't understand. And also, I think, yeah, these guys get shit income. If you get this undead pop type, gonna fuck over the income for these provinces, which sucks. So this is pretty unlucky. I mean, for me, I care about it a lot less than another player would, because they're gonna be undead anyway. Like, the lands are gonna be dead anyway. But I still really like that starting income. So anyway, these are gonna be low priority targets for me, because I don't really know what to do. But they're not going to be that low priority targets. And I might actually target this one first. I think I do, actually. The reason is because of this. I want to get here so fucking bad. This is I didn't know this, but somebody posted in the comments. If a province has houses on it, then you can tell it's a big province. So these are all large provinces right here. So anyway, this is a large farmland. These things are crazy, especially in the late age. Like, this could easily be worth, like, 5 provinces. So, I want to get there bad. So, I can't remember what we do. We're going to send this group out. I'll just show you... we'll pretend we're going here, because I don't actually know what's going to happen if we go there. I think we do go to this one, actually. But not because we want this one. Only because it's easier than this, and we really desperately want to get over here. Actually, I think we do this. So, I think we do attack closest, and then we just... And I can't remember, there's a few different ways to do this. One way is you put them both on fire, and the second one is you have like one on fire and one on attack closest. And I think this is what we do, actually. So we'll see. The mercs, somebody's already got the green men. We've got shipwreckers up. That would be nice. We could buy mercs. There's a strong argument to be made for buying mercs. The problem with buying mercs, though, is that the problem with buying mercs is we desperately want to get our first forts up. And while, a merc can pay for itself pretty quick, and there's a strong argument to be made, we are not going to have trouble expanding. So we are going to kind of skip them. Here what we're going to do, this is important for turn 2, we're going to get another Lemurian Acolyte. We're not going to get another Centurion. We have to kind of sack one turn of expansion to go ahead and get it so we can do 2 Centurions a turn every turn after this. Sorry, that's that. Now we're going to go to turn 3. We got about, let's see, yeah, we do end up going into this. I think I positioned my guys a little farther back. We've got some undead. One of the other things I didn't know is what kind of commander type you get for these kind of indies. I did load it up. I was worried about this, and if you fuck up your first turn expansion, that's a really bad thing to have in a multiplayer. So I did actually fire up enough test games just to find one of these indies and just run into them to make sure they didn't have like a Death 2 or Death 3 mage, because I couldn't remember. And if they had like a Death 2 mage, I probably would have just not done it. But anyway, I saw that they didn't, and so we just kind of ran in and attacked them. And you can see it's going pretty well. They don't have magic attacks, so we kind of whooped them. But I only, and these were really uncommon pop types, so for me to get 2 was crazy. Because I had to fire up a fair number of test games just to even see them once. And then from that, I didn't know from that one time, it was like a sample size of 1, you know, would I actually get a death mage in it? And I didn't know if there was an actual chance. So we're going to go ahead and move these guys over this way. I think we can keep the same order. This is going to be light infantry, crossbowmen, and heavy infantry. I don't know what I do. I think it's probably better to actually go ahead and position my guys a little farther forward here. Because what I don't, even if like we run forward in the battlefield and we meet like somewhere in the middle, I want to have as short a distance between. I don't think the front line's going to hold up too long. And what I kind of want to avoid is the crossbows having like, you know, 2 or 3 turns to pepper me while I chase them down. I would rather kind of allow them to shoot me a little bit more at point blank while I work my way through the front lines, and then have a shorter distance to close. I don't know if that's optimal, but that's kind of what I'm thinking here. And I think that's what we do. Meanwhile, we've got our acolyte here, and we are going to do 2 Centurions. Now, if you look at the cost, it's going to be 10 gems a turn. Now, when you start off, you only get 9. Oh, no, 10, because we have a temple. It's 9 plus the 1 for the temple. So anyway, that's what we're going to get 2 of these. So we can make 2 of these per turn indefinitely. And then we didn't really get any ghosts that roll, which kind of sucks. But that was why we didn't take all the ghosts in the first roll and move them out with this army. We left some behind because we knew the game might fuck with us and not give us many. So hopefully we get some more ghosts in the next roll. We'll see, though. And again, we're moving south to try to beeline it for that fort. So let's see, turn 4. And right now you're thinking, okay, Lucid, you said 30, but you're only doing 1 expansion a turn. You bitch. Okay, we didn't actually position farther forward. We chose this time, and I think we switched it up a few times, to be at the back. We can see everybody's on fire. Now, there's some things that's not ideal. These guys aren't in the same tile, and we really want them in the same tile. This guy got smacked in the fucking head with a javelin. He's crippled now. Oh, he dies too. I forgot about that. Yeah, he just gets fucking wrecked. So this is the problem a little bit. Now, this is partially the problem with 2 consoles and with having your consoles out in the front, right? And if we were to only have 1, you know, this will be the end of the battle. But we have 2, so it's okay. You can mitigate a lot of this by having these guys not fire and charge in with them. And it's a little bit like a greed thing, because you're going to lose more ghosts if you don't have them fire their javelins first, and you have them just run in to close with the Centurions. So on one hand, you want them to run in and not do the fire to protect your Centurions. But if you get 2 Centurions on a tile, they are actually very difficult to kill. And this was, even if you were to do this fire javelin strategy and you have these guys run in, we got very unlucky here. This is not going to happen very many times at all. This was us just getting unlucky in expansion. So we lost our Centurion. We lost 5 troops. And then this wasn't a terribly hard province, so that kind of sucks. And then here we see this one. Now, my guess is that Pythium, who is we finally see who spawned over here, and I think, we've got Agartha down here, so we've seen 2 of our neighbors. Pythium is probably going to be beelining for this too. So we want to definitely get this as fast as we can. We have to swap troops out, and I think what we're going to do, because we've only got 1 guy, let's see if we actually do it, because I can't remember. This is probably what I would do now, is I'd put these guys on fire, I'd put these guys on attack closest, I'd put this guy here on attack closest. This is probably what I would do. And just charge them in like this. This isn't a terribly hard province, so we're probably okay. Now these idiots, we're going to take them, and what are the other high value? I want to get these. This is the other really important provinces for me to control, especially early. I can't remember whether we go here or here. I feel like we probably go north. We'll find out. So we're just going to send them in, and honestly, this is kind of a brainless expansion, guys. This is so easy. We just do attack closest, attack closest. We have these guys in a line. This is probably what I would do going forward. I don't really like losing Centurions. And so the problem with this on attack closest is you are going to take more attrition in your ghosts. You really do, the greedy strategy is to put a little bit more burden on your double Centurions, and then have the ghosts kind of close in behind them. But you risk losing one. So anyway, I think this is what we're going to do. This would lose more ghosts. I have no idea what I'm actually going to do. And we're of course going to get more Centurions here. And now, I think that takes us to turn 5. Which will probably be the end of the first episode. Oh, 1 second, I didn't load the turn file. Okay, and I found it. We got turn 5 now, so we had a couple of battles this turn. You can see our expansion starting to pick up. Now, one of the reasons why our expansion is going to be quick going forward, and you may be like, 30 provinces? How is that even possible after such a slow expansion so far? Well, one of the main mechanics that's going to allow that to be possible, you can see our guys, by the way, are running in with the troops. We're not doing the javelin shooting because I don't want to risk this guy dying. One of the mechanics that is making this possible is that our guys are very fast in terms of map movement. So it's going to be very easy for me to get out to the periphery and I basically don't have to care too much about clearing my cap circle or anything like that. I can just skip forward to the front line with a lot of my guys, and that will come out in a second. And you can see we're just slowly working our way through these guys. We got 1 squad to rout. This squad's going to rout. And we're pretty lucky there's no priest here. If there was a priest here, this would have been a very close battle. So that was that. We lost 10. So we were pretty close to the breaking point. I think if there was a priest here, which there could have been, we would have lost that. Next up, we have our other expansion party. Yeah, and we're not risking... I was kind of pissed after that first Centurion died, so we did not have our 2 Centurions. Okay, now, this is not enough where this squad would normally run away. Right, they are breaking now because of the fear effect. We did not really kill that many of them yet. So that's that. And then we got a dancing shield, which is the shit. That is absolutely the shit. We also got a new hero. Go to him. He got unequaled obesity, which is one of the better ones for undead units to get. And we see Pythium indeed. So Pythium's here. 7 Millites, so they're okay. And they're probably looking at us like, fuck, I'm starting next to Lemuria. And this is why we were rushing to get here as our first province. 2,600 income. Or, I mean, population. 26,000, sorry. I can't even say my words right. 26,000 population and 200 income. Look at this shit. I mean, so nuts, guys. It's so much money. Holy shit. So much money. Now, one thing I didn't talk about, because we just did it this turn, is we recruited our commander like a good little boy here, and he has made it his job in life to build a fortress. He's going to build our first fortress. We also are going to queue up another commander here. We're going to get our cap circle forted up about as fast as we can. So anyway, that's that. I was kind of wondering what type of units you get in a Deadlands pop type. And I guess it's a commander and a slinger. Go figure. Now we're going to make this guy south. And the other thing we see is we get Zots here. And then here we have Bakemono, which they're okay. But the Zots are the real prize, because that's an indie mage. There's especially good things about Zots is they're stealthy indie, and they're reasonably high movement indie death mages. Now, what that is going to mean is it means my shades, which I can get right here, like the shadows and shades and dispossessed spirits. I can't remember if dispossessed spirits are. I know shades. They're stealthy, and so having a stealthy person who can lead undead, like death mages, is going to go a long way to helping our very sneaky raiding operations. That's not going to matter so much right now. At the beginning of the game, because I have Magic 3, these bats are going to be more important for researching, because you really need some kind of indie mages if you want to have any respectable early game research. So okay, we're going to move here. There's also a throne here. There's a throne here, and a throne here, and a throne here. So we've got some thrones around us too, which is also kind of nice. We also, as you can see, we had an acolyte spawn, and these guys you can get as free spawn from just having a lab and a temple, and we got one pretty early. You know, you're only going to get kind of, I think it's like 1 or 2 a year, and so turn 5 getting one is pretty lucky. I wouldn't count on it in your game. But the nice thing about that is we now get to have these guys do Centurions. And then we're going to go ahead and kind of just go out and get some site searching. Ideally, we get a tiny bit of astral income and a little bit more death income. I mean, ideally, we get a lot more death income, as we kind of round out our expansion. And yeah. I mean, when our Pretender God comes out, he's going to have other things to do probably before we can really get any real site searching done. So even though this guy's not great at site searching, it's nice to be able to free him up and go prime the pump on Astral and then get us a little bit better death. So that's probably what he's going to do. I'm going to send him out. Meanwhile, you can see we're sending into the Heavy Cav. Basically, Heavy Cav, you especially have to be careful with letting your Centurions take too much of the hits. Heavy Cav are not a problem for Lemuria, but enough lance charges on these Centurions can kill them pretty quickly. So we're going to have a few of these guys on Guard Commander just to help blunt that lance charge a little bit. We're going to have these guys together, and we're going to have these guys on attack closest with no Javelineers, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to move these guys in, basically the same thing. This is going to be a really easy province, and so because this is so easy, I've decided to basically let these guys tank more of the blow, so that hopefully I lose fewer ghosts. Honestly, these two guys can probably take this province without any ghosts, right? It's going to be, I think, that easy. We don't know what the priest situation will be, but also if there's priests, it's going to be a little better to have these guys fire. These guys are going to be more immune to priests. They can take a banishment or two, but the priests are going to hurt these guys. So this is kind of like casualty reduction, and I'm not really worried about losing a Centurion here. Same thing here. Except I've only got one Centurion, but this is about as easy as provinces come. Still, this could fuck up. If there's a priest here, I could kind of get fucked. And it might be better to have them on attack closest. We'll see. But on the other hand, I think I probably would do this if I got to do it again. Put a couple people on Guard Commander and have these guys on fire, and that would minimize some of the risk of my commander dying. But anyway. But if you've enjoyed it so far, tune back in for the next episode. You can see it's turn 5 and we've got 3 expansion parties going out of turn. And then next turn, we'll have 4 expansion parties going out a turn. And then next turn, we'll have 5 expansion parties going out a turn. And you can see how with each of these parties claiming 1 province a turn, we're going to be very, very, very happy in a few turns from now, as long as we don't get cut off by our neighbors. So, yeah, thanks for watching. I'll see y'all next time. Cheers.